today. I'm Walt.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And I'm joined today by Michaell Art, who is both a podcast host and an author. And he has an interesting mission in life. His mission is basically to help people think differently about creativity and art. And so I thought, well, why don't we find out more about what that's all about? So, Michaell, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
You're welcome. And I'm happy to be here.
So you got to tell us a little bit more. I just have like a little thumbnail of what you're all about, but you made an interesting comment in one of the pages I read about you. You said, we are in a consciousness crisis. Can you talk about that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So, pandemic, right?
Yep.
War, all the crap that was before pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you back is, what do you think we can do? Do humans can actually do more, different, change? We do already so much. We already there's nothing to do anymore. So that's why I think it's impossible to say okay, let's go from an economic system to a communist system, or a total different system of economy, or let's change this, or let's do less taxes, more taxes. We can't do anymore. It's not possible that we can do anymore, because the people are not even humane anymore. We are like robots. We just try to get through the day. I said in the early days, like when you and I were growing up, people worked for living, right? Living. And now they work for surviving. And just contemplate that one word, working for living and working for surviving. That there's nothing more to do. Everything is exhausted. I mean, your economy is exhausted. If you sell me anything, $5 with a credit card, 5 people make money on that. A half a cent, a quarter cent. This is so exhausted, this system that has to always grow. And humans don't have to grow all the time. They can rest, they can scale back, but not on the cost of systems. See, the economic system runs all the systems. Every system, political system, state, government, everything. And the economy runs on profit. You have to be bigger, better, more. Humans don't run on that. Humans can say, no, I don't need more. Perhaps I need just that. Because otherwise everybody would be Jeff Bezos. Everybody would be Amazon. Nobody wants that. And we have more and more millionaires, and they are not happy. So it's a consciousness crisis. It's not the money.
Okay, so there's a few things that you've been raising here, and these are interesting topics. So let's see if we can go through them one by one.
Go ahead.
One of the things that you're addressing, I think, is the idea of power versus powerlessness, individual power versus dealing with a society where people feel powerless. And I agree with you. There are many people who feel powerless. The question that I would pose back to you is, who is in charge of how we feel about things?
We are.
And
but we are not conscious. Because you're stepping on an escalator. When you're born, you're stepping on an escalator, on something that is already moving. And you're conditioned till 7. The humans condition 7 years. The first 7 years, you learn how to be a human. From society, systems, your parents, your genetics. From all of these influences, you're stepping on an escalator and you're stepping off when you die. And and if you don't use your brain, or even get the opportunity to use your brains. I mean, if I was grown up probably in a favela in Brazil, I don't know if I would be where I am now. And I'm not great and perfect, But I'm
Well,
saying
nobody
if
is.
I would, it depends. It depends on where you grow up, how you are conditioned.
Well, certainly our early life influences play a dramatically significant role. There's no doubt about that. I think the real question, though, is what power do we have over that? And I think we probably have quite a bit of power. I think we have a great deal of ability to overcome those kinds of difficulties that we all encounter. I mean, every one of us has something like that, at least one thing, often more than one thing, that we are kind of trying to outrun, so to speak, in adulthood. So the question is, how do you do that? And I think for my own self, for the way I think about things, I start with the idea that humans are choice makers. Literally, we go through every instance of every day making choices. What am I going to look at next? What am I going to do next? Am I going to go have something to eat? I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to look at this television program. I'm constantly making choices throughout the day. And the fact that I'm making choices, I find to be very encouraging, because what that really means is I can change my choices anytime I choose. So you make the point that people are unconscious. Well, certainly there is a very large component of the human experience that is driven by the subconscious mind. But isn't it also possible to take control of that? Isn't it also
Well,
possible to
absolutely,
decide that we're
absolutely.
going to become conscious?
I'm not saying you have no power. I say, as a matter of fact, I'm a proponent that humans have all the power. That the
Okay.
aliens outside is not outside. I think the human potential got so castrated or neutered, however you want it, that we believe that we believe everything is outside, which also the system taught you it's outside. It's how your society sees you. So all the human. So what basically what I think is these systems have conditioned you that happiness, joy, and all this stuff is outside. It's not within inside. Even though we see constantly rich people having the same problem that poor people have.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not taught to you, it's not taught to us, all of us, that the power lays in the human, other than on a spiritual level, religious level. And I want to even go out of that, because I think it's science. I think the humans have not learned to be humans, what it means to be a human. They've learned how to navigate a system. So all humans are divided in two parts. One is the systems, they're creating and making systems and living off system and maintaining systems, and the other ones that navigate the systems. And
So
what holds these people together is the creativity. So we are human against human from both sides of the system. And instead of you and me talking together, directly, we have to go through a system to even talk about it. Anything, everything is a system, which is great. System can be great if they serve humans, but it's flipped. We serving systems. I only need to say, fill out your taxes currently. Who wants to do it? This is all to make it easier for the system, not easier for the humans.
I guess the way I look at it is I can feel like and decide that I am dominated by the systems, or I can decide that I'm not. And I choose to think I'm not.
You
I have
can't. You
the
can't.
control.
You
I have the
can't.
power to
How can
decide.
you be outside of society? I mean,
Who said I'm
you and
outside
I, that the
society?
fact that we talk, we are in a system right now. I'm not
Who said
saying the
I'm
system is bad. I'm not
Wait, whoa,
saying
whoa,
it's.
whoa, 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 whoa! You're putting words in my mouth. Hold on a second here. If we're going to address this, let's address it head on. And
Okay.
that is,
Yeah.
can I be part of a society and still be a person of my own mind, of my own choices, of my own consciousness? And I think the answer is yes, I can. In
But
fact, I
society
think
is a system.
so what? See, I think you're making a big deal out of the system is what I'm really thinking here. I'm thinking that you're saying, oh my God, the system is just so overpowering and omnipresent. And I'm saying, why give so much attention to it? It's not that big of a deal. It's only a big deal if you make it one.
Yeah, but the people are not conscious of that. They think their
I
happiness.
would even dispute that. I would dispute that. I think that most people are aware of the systems. In fact, I think perhaps in some ways people are overly sensitive, overly aware of systems, and they're actually needing to learn how not to be so aware of systems and more aware of their own power.
I just try to see, because I don't see the system is the problem. I think the understanding that systems, the understanding that it's about humans and not systems is the problem.
I agree with that. Yes. Well,
and that's what all is.
I think it's not a solution.
I don't know if it's a solution, but I just see the life force of most humans is tanking it into systems. I think they reacting to systems of be benevolent and do what systems ask. I mean, look at this war. This war should never be. This war should never have been. Because a system, humans allow a system. I'm not speaking for a revolution or anything. I'm just saying we're in 2022, man, in 2022. And we're repeating the thing. And my theory is that people repeat this because they can't see their life force, because the system promises all this stuff, safety.
I mean, okay, I need to interrupt you because I'm really confused about a very, very important point here. And I think I can narrow down exactly where the confusion is. On the one hand, you're telling me that you believe that the system is not a problem. On the other hand, you're describing the human awareness, ongoing conscious awareness and ongoing tied into-ness, if you can call it that a word, as being a problem. So I got to ask you, is it a problem or isn't it a problem? Which is it? The unconsciousness is a problem. That's why I say it's a consciousness crisis. And describing the fact that people are aware of systems, to me, that does not demonstrate that people are unconscious.
The function.
From my perspective, I see consciousness all over the place. So that's where I'm struggling with this idea that unconsciousness is a problem, because I don't see it. I see it as something that some people wrestle with, but I don't see it as like a systemic problem. So I'm wondering where that's coming from.
Because everything I look at, I really want to make that clear. I have no ill will against systems. What I have is we have forgotten the function of systems, that systems support us to
what's your evidence that we've forgotten?
Because most people function by systems. The media, the masses. I'm not talking you and I that try to be even if we are against systems, we are on the same coin still.
Well, I'm not against systems, actually.
I'm not either. I think you see it as me. I see the consciousness. I always say the consciousness. People,
I know. You think that people are unconscious and that there's a lack of consciousness. That's the part that I'm not seeing. And when I ask you, what's your evidence of that, you start pointing to systems, but you say it's not the system. So I'm still not clear what you're saying.
Because you create a system, people don't like it, then people get up, then the system gets stronger. And really, it's humans against humans. It's the communication.
But doesn't that all amount to individual choices rather than consciousness versus unconsciousness?
That's individual choices is a very high concept that you have. Individual choices is not that easy. It's not that just saying, okay, that's an individual choice. Then all the people on Skid Row, they have chosen this life.
On
people
some level,
yeah, but they are not conscious of that.
I'm not so sure about that. I've actually had conversations with people who were homeless, who were in really bad straits, and the feedback that I've gotten from them is they know exactly how they got there.
Yeah, by shaming them what the system says they should.
No,
Because
no, no shaming. No, 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 no. I mean, the only person who is even thinking about shaming is somebody who may be looking outside. But in the conversation that I have with these people, they don't shame me. I don't shame them. They don't shame each other. They don't shame themselves. There's not a shaming thing going on. They're just, they're very point blank. They're probably the most honest people I know. Very clear about, yes, I know how I got here. I don't like where I am, perhaps, but I know for sure how I got here.
Then every person in this world that has, that his life doesn't work is supposedly then chosen that.
On a certain level.
I don't subscribe to the spiritual thing. You create. I know we create our reality. I know that, but it's not by allowing. It's not by just choosing. It's also by allowing, which is also a choice.
Okay, so explain that a little bit more. What is that? Talk about what you said.
So when I heard the first in the New Age thing, and I was always interested in growing. My whole thing is to grow.
Okay.
And I was looking for and the truth, and I wasn't doing anything. I was 22 years old, and they said, "Hey, you create your own reality." I said, "The guy's insane." It's not. And then I hear another person say, "You create your own reality." I said, "Bullshit, absolute bullshit." And I was so against it, And then I found out more and more the truth. I became conscious that we do create our own reality.
Okay.
I became conscious, but it wasn't that I blindly said, okay, that if this authority says that I'm going to go, yes, that's what it is. And, how much have you heard about love? The love alone, with the theories of love that people have, it's endless. And everybody makes their own theory about what love is. And we all can, say it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's something you have to do. You have to, but nobody really knows what it is. And my theory, that's not the truth, but I'm saying the theory is, it's getting us in time and space. And when we are in time and space, or with another person that gets us in time and space, then we feel loved. Because when you're in time and space, you're connected to the whole universe. And then you feel love. And either a person helps you, two energies, it's just resonance, two resonances go together, or you yourself get yourself in time and space. And then you feel the unbelievable power of the universe. And that makes you feel like you are in love. But, that's, but that's what my theory is. I don't believe in, I need to have you to feel love. I don't need another person to feel love. I think we choose, with frequency, get in that space of feeling in love or loving or joyous. And then we feel that. And it might be dependent on, it might be easier with somebody else. But that's how I see that. Okay.
All right. I'm starting to get a handle on your viewpoint. You have a very unusual viewpoint from my perspective, and I'm enjoying that because I like different perspectives.
I'm extreme dyslexic, so I have to think about everything 3 or 4 times to even understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me a lot to write 5 books. That helps a lot.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, because if you go to a dyslexic, you were writing a book? No, you would never write a book, but I did, and I was the worst in school and everything. And that's how I function. I function completely different. And that I see it different. And I don't know if you know that, but dyslexics have an unbelievable. It's like almost like a superpower. They can see context. They can see context. Okay. So I look everything from context, not from detail.
So a more holistic view rather than an
holistic view. Yeah, that's why I say systems, because I see humans on both sides, and I think it's crazy to say, "Oh, screw the IRS or do this or whatever." there's humans on the other side that live of that, so it's our creativity, and that's how I came on this. I think the whole thing of the world that it needs to understand is there is this major power. It's called creativity, and there's another major power that I have discovered. I haven't discovered more, but I have only discovered two. There's creativity and there's discourse, healthy discourse, what we have now, where we can disagree and whatever. Because our brains change no matter if we want or not. You influence me, I influence you, and we better see. Nobody taught you that. Oh, get away from the dark. Don't do this. Just know where you hang out with and be aware of that. But that's awareness again. That's consciousness again. If you're not conscious, you look at horror films and you look at and you talk to people that are not good for you, and it's not that you stay away, but be conscious. And be conscious that masses have impact on you. So when you're in a mass of 50 people, you pretty much do what they want. I mean, you can rebel, but that's the whole swarm behavior. There's a huge thing on swarm behavior.
Well, there's a third option, isn't there? I mean,
what is the third option?
You gave two options there. The first option that you gave was to go along with the swarm. The second option that you gave was to rebel. The third option, I think, is just to go in another direction without rebelling.
It goes in you. When you have a strong enough essence, when you're strong enough clean in your essence, you can go with yourself. Yeah. That I had to learn that, because I couldn't fit anywhere in. And I wasn't against either. I wasn't against, and I couldn't fit in.
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually true that if we don't think about it as being a resistance against a system, and we don't think about it as being tied to the system, the third option is simply to think about, what way do I want to think about things, and what direction do I want to go in? And if that's the direction that the system is going in, great. If it's not the direction the system is going in, so what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry, be happy, to quote Bobby McFerrin.
I am not, I think what we have to be conscious of, that's what I think. That's how we use systems. Have the system, don't change, whatever, keep it. I have nothing against it. It's about what is first. For example, in this war, can any system that is man-made have a choice over a human being, or many human beings, kill human beings? That makes us godlike, God state-like. That makes us godlike.
Yeah, but I know there's a phrase in there that you're using that I have learned how to let go of, and that is us. The idea that there is a collective us that is doing things. Usually that's associated with a government of some kind. Sometimes it's associated with a political movement or something like that. But it's still an us idea. And I don't think it's really an accurate idea. And the reason I don't think it's accurate is because of all the jokes we can make about politicians. Yeah, there's always a following behind a politician. But to me, the more interesting thing is how many people are not following the politician. It's always a large number. And the only reason I bring this up is that, to me, the interesting thing about those people is they have learned how to navigate life without any concern for the politician. They just navigate life their own way. They aren't concerned about, is there a war going on? They aren't concerned about, is there a government action? They aren't concerned about all these collective decision-making things. They're concerned with just pursuing their lives. And as a sort of an adjunct to that, as sort of a corollary to that, they end up living a life that does not include those things. I mean, that's the basic law of attraction concept. What you give your attention to, you get more of. What you don't give your attention to, you don't get more of it. They stop giving their attention to it, so they stop getting more of it. In fact, they get less of it. And that to me is where the real power of not only consciousness is, but also the spreading of consciousness. I think consciousness is actually becoming a very big deal. And I think a lot more people are becoming not only aware of it and wanting to incorporate more consciousness into their own lives, but I also see that the old systems are starting to fall apart as a result.
They do. They do.
People are just not I mean, you take attention away from stuff and it just stops being effective like it was before.
I agree.
So to me, I see a really great dynamic going on right now. And in that dynamic, I see people who in their conscious choices, because they're constantly making conscious choices, sometimes make choices that don't work out the way they want them to. Sometimes they make choices that work against their own interests, but they learn from them. Mm-hmm. And in their learning, they become stronger, they become better, they end up having more effective, more happy lives. In fact, that's where the whole idea, I think, of a consciously happy life comes from. The fact that more and more people learn how to make choices about what they're going to do with their lives and how they're going to experience their lives and how they're going to think about their lives, and how they're going to think about their experiences. There's a good friend of mine. His name is Joel Elston. He used to be a co-host here on the show. One of the things he talks about is you may not have a whole lot of control over what happens to you, but you have all the control in the world over how you're going to respond to it. And that includes refusing to respond to it at all. So you can respond directly to it. You can refuse to respond. You can respond obliquely. There's lots of different ways to respond, but the power to respond still remains within you, which means you get to choose any response. It doesn't have to be the pre-programmed response. It can be a response that is completely different from what the programmer had in mind. And there's nothing the programmer can do about that. The programmer is basically screwed. No matter what they're trying to do with the program just doesn't work anymore because people discover that they have the power to choose how they're going to respond to any given situation. And then you add in the fact that the more that we respond, the more that we learn how to respond in the way that suits our needs the best, that matches our vibration, to use the New Age term, the best. The more that we learn how to do that, the more that we find that we just aren't even impacted by those systems like we used to be. I mean, here, to give myself as an example.
I'm not. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
You know what I mean? So to use myself as an example, I used to be very politically aware, very politically oriented. I had a website.
Same here.
And my website was all about politics. And I had a whole bunch of people writing about politics. And you know what the best thing was that I ever did? It was closing that website. It was the best move I ever made. And it
very
took me
similar. Yeah, very similar to me. I knew everything. I think, and I chose not to. But I had to become conscious first. I don't think you have to be pushed in anything. I think the best is, I mean, look, the German wall fell. It was different than now in Putin stuff. You know, it just when you have to be conscious. Everything else handles itself. That's what I mean. Probably the most. Mm-hmm. You have to understand if I don't know I have a nail in my shoe and I walk around all day, what can I do? I take the nail out and then say, oh my God, I didn't know it. 50 years I ran around with that nail in my shoe. you know what I mean? It's
yeah, sure.
If you're not conscious that you have a nail in your shoe and you just say, hey, that's life. And we are so adaptable. Humans are so malleable. They're just, you can, and that's I have nothing against what you say. I'm very much the same. Agree that you have, but you say that from a person that is aware that he has those choices, and there's the big difference. See, I am also aware of these choices, but a lot of people becoming aware right now of these choices.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's easy to say, hey, you create your reality, to tell a kid when it's 16 years old. I said, no way, look at all this, the school and my parents and all this stuff. That's why I say it's a consciousness crisis. Perhaps I'm also saying that from a higher point, people don't, connect the dots. That's
and
why
yet, interestingly enough, I mentioned the gentleman, Joel Elston. His thing is he is a former therapist, currently a life coach. Uh-huh. His background is that he was a gambling addict. He was a thief, stole from his family, went to jail for it. He went through a whole bunch of stuff and then got exposed to some of these concepts we talked about here, turned his life around, and has spent a large portion of his life working with young boys who fit into the category of that 16-year-old you mentioned. In fact, they're the more extreme examples. They're the ones who are in foster care and who are unplaceable. They're considered unadoptable. They're the big troublemakers. The system has no idea how to handle these kids. And he sits down with these kids, and every single time he's able to help them turn their lives around by simply explaining to them that they have the power to choose. And they instantly get it. In fact, that's what's so cool about what he's learned working with these kids. When these concepts are presented to somebody who's young, they actually get it a whole lot faster than somebody my age or your age. They get it really fast, and then they implement it.
I understand. I know. My kids are the easiest to model.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. So, So they make the transitions really, really quickly, and then watch out, because once they've made their choices in a new way, all of a sudden it's like their entire lives turned around. And everybody's saying, "Oh my God, what happened to this kid? It's unbelievable!" But all he did was he learned the power of his own choices.
Yeah. And once you, I mean, look at before the law of attraction. I mean, because that's your show, but people didn't know, and that's it. Oh, that's the big secret, you know. But you know, that was the big awakening in that direction, you know, that you attract everything. But and I'm a certified coach. I did the secret and all that stuff, you know. So. But it is easy from a guy like us, from guys like us that are older, to tell, you know, what it is. It's like philosophy. You never understood that phrase, and all of a sudden it clings in you, and you get, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, you live long enough, you eventually figure something out somewhere along the way, and you know, or somebody explains something to you or whatever. And that, I mean, it took me 55 years to figure this thing out. Finally got there.
Same here. Very, very similar. Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. To me, the exciting part is knowing how many younger people are being exposed to it now, because I'm seeing all kinds of evidence of it. And it's I just think about that. I think about, wow, there's going to be, just in the next 5 to 10 years, there are going to be some major shifts going on a systemic level. And they're already happening. I can already see signs of them happening in a fairly big way. I think it's very likely that by, say, the year 2030, 2022 is going to look antique by comparison.
Ancient,
ancient, totally ancient. It's going to be such a different life, a different way of thinking about things, a different way of exploring and enjoying and being. Yeah, I'm really excited by what I see happening, particularly among the young. Yeah, there's still a lot that, you know, a lot of people who are not yet exposed to the idea, not yet. Presented with the idea that they have power over their own lives, but that number is dwindling fast. And I get excited about that. I get really excited.
I'm super. No, I think it's the most exciting time ever, because you know, even though it looks like on the outside it looks like crap, but I think it is an awesome thing, because it had to come to a head with the pandemic and with the war. It has to come, and obviously the pandemic wasn't enough. We had to create, you know, because every human in this world has a part of this war. You know, we have in our DNA thousands of years of war, and never has a human chosen to do war. It's the people, the leaders of the systems. It's never the humans. If you go to Ukraine and look what's going on in Russia, it's not about the humans. Why don't we put these two guys in a you know, what is it, UFC or whatever, that wrestling? Get them in the thing and fight it out. You know? No, don't you think? Doesn't it make more sense?
Many years ago,
You know, it is by crooked means. War is politics by crooked means.
One of the things I've been learning myself over the last few years, particularly in the last couple of years, is the value and importance of finding ways to come to peace with these things that I didn't like. And you're naming many of the things that I didn't like. I didn't like leaders leading people into war. I didn't like people who were acting in a very uncouth and even illegal way in order to gain economic gain. There were a whole bunch of things like that. And what I've been learning to do over the last few years is find ways to not only let go of my frustrations with these people, but I've actually gotten to the point with some of them, not all of them. I'm still in a growth mode. We're always in a growth mode, right?
Yeah.
But I'm learning more and more how to actually appreciate them, which is, it's the ultimate form of consciousness, really. Trying to learn how to appreciate what are sometimes called transgressors. things that really just rub us the wrong way, and oh, how terrible! And it's like trying to
Because
love Hitler. You know,
if it rubs you the wrong way, it's a part of you. I mean,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
the guarantee. You can make a check mark.
Right.
You know, Putin is a part of me. If that pisses you off, it doesn't piss me off. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be better if they? I'm going on the big level of humans because my dyslexia. I see the context, and I think, what are they doing to human beings? That wasn't supposed to be. Life wasn't supposed to be that. Especially not for a 5-year-old child being pulled out of a kindergarten and put into a bunker. It's just what I'm saying.
I also know on the contrary side, I also know that pushing against that doesn't actually make it better.
I'm not pushing against it. I'm saying this shouldn't be for people. I'm not against, because I know pushing against is the same.
Just saying that is a form of pushing against it. When you say it that way, that is pushing against.
I don't know. I don't understand that. If it is, I'm just saying there's the solution would be being conscious of that humans are number one, and systems are always number two because they're human built. Number one, humans. Number two, man-made systems. Always, if that priority isn't correct, there is no. If you can say, okay, you in your consciousness can say these people have to be killed, say it. I can't. I can't make any decisions of the worst people that they have to be, because they weren't created by us.
But I wouldn't want to say that, because that would be pushing.
I'm saying no human would. It's humans that are non-human, that are so distorted in that thing, that distorted humans. Humans are not bad. You know that. Humans are good and benevolent and nice. And helpful.
Yeah, and that's part of what I was talking about before when I was saying I find ways to appreciate the things that I didn't like. So if I see that there are people who are distorted, to use your term, kind of bent out of shape, I no longer feel the way that I used to feel about them. Today I feel
either.
Today I feel about them that they're on the path they need to be on. They're living the way they need to live. They're growing the way they need to grow, and ultimately, where they're growing is not the way I would have gone. I would not choose the route that they're on, but the route that they're on is taking them through the path they need to go on. That's part of the way they're.
I understand that in the personal thing. I understand that in the personal, but I say, where's the human potential? See, why do we have technology that is 400 years advanced to humans? Because we be putting all in our man-made systems and creations. We're so. Because it shimmers and shines and is bright, and the brand is greater than life, and all of a sudden we think, and it's just the confirming, it's the loop that we are not worth anything. We should look at this as I look at it. I said, I'm part of Nike. I'm part of Shanghai being from a rat hole to this great city. Everything, I'm a part of that creative energy that created that. And that's how I look at the world. I think everything is beautiful because I say that's made by the creative energy of humans, and I'm part of the humans, which are not man-made. And therefore, I can never choose over a non-man-made or a living being. I cannot choose over a living being to be killed, to be ill-treated, or anything. I cannot choose it. I allow it. It happens. It's there. I cannot get involved in their life. Everybody's here to contribute with their life story, right? When you ask yourself, what is the world, or what is human being? Is it to be human? And my theory is, we all give the answer what it is to be human. Everybody in the individuality, and therefore everybody is valuable. And you can, it's like crocheting. You can't the person on the street, the president, the big mean person in a multinational company, the mass killer, everything. But also the king, the everything, the spirituality, everything is, every human gives a part to the whole, its experience and what it means to be human. And in that awakening of become more and more human, when you all of a sudden see there's no wrong, you can get actually above that rank where you see, hey, there's right, wrong, good, bad. No, where you are, what you said, what you say. Hey, I'm not even upset about it anymore. Yeah, because they give you a part of what it is to be human. Putin right now and all these people give you an exquisite look of what humanity is. On the one side, people allowing it. On the one side, people abusing their power. And it's all a part of what it means to be human, the experience. But I'm not for, I'm saying, to find out what it is human, you're not finding out through systems.
Yeah, I don't think we ever did.
You can observe it. You can observe it through systems.
Sure.
But it would be much better if you and I if I fight with you, it's better than I fight with a system. You understand what I mean? If I start fighting with you,
I would choose to fight either one.
No. I said I would rather choose. I know you go the middle way, and I understand, but I'm making an example right now. I rather, if I had to fight, you and I had to fight, I'd rather fight with you than through a system. Because the system's always distorted. I'm not saying they're bad, but we need to understand that we created these systems, and to find out about humanity through system is a detour that cost us already time and time and generations and generations. We loop. Why are we looping? Because we try to figure out what it is to be the human experience through systems.
I think what you're calling systems is probably closest to what I would call external.
External, perhaps. Yeah, perhaps external. I've never thought about that way. Yeah, perhaps external.
Because I don't really think about it as systems. To me, systems almost sounds like it's Machiavellian or something. But when I think about something as being external, to me, the distinction there is, well, where am I giving my attention? Am I giving my attention and my power thereby? Because where I give my attention is where I give my power. Am I giving it to stuff outside of myself, or am I redirecting inside myself? Because you made that reference earlier, giving attention
and
outside.
Machiavellian, it can't be Machiavellian, because other people created that system.
Well, Machiavelli.
And what I'm saying it is energetic. Not good or bad. Not good or bad. I'm saying it's the direct line is to pick up the phone and call me, versus doing a market crash and do this. Humans need to directly communicate with each other, because that's where the best context is exchanged and the best growth, and not trying to find out a bigger question. I say a lot of people perhaps subconsciously and here and there thinking, what is the life all about? But I think it is a constant, in this physicalness, it is a constant question that lingers. And I think when people, they're so busy with systems that they have elevated the system above themselves. Look at, I mean, oh my God, look at everybody, like even brands, like, Louis Vuitton and all these crazy brands. People, they don't have anything to eat or anything. They rather buy a jacket for that, because they think this is making them better. A Porsche makes them better. And I'm not against, I'd love to have 20 Porsches, but I know who I am, and they don't make me better at all. I would have fun with them, but
So let me take what I think I have a handle now on what it is you've been trying to tell us, and it's very interesting. So I want to kind of turn it around a little bit, and the way I want to turn it around is basically say, okay, we have identified this thing that we're calling systems, that is outside, that is not the way to go, so to speak. We're not condemning it. We're not shaming it. We're just simply saying,
No,
nope,
no.
that's not what we want. So now that we've identified what we don't want, we've kind of hinted at what we do want instead. You hinted at when you talked about wanting to interact directly, have direct conversations and so forth. What are some of the other things that people can do individually to continue that focusing away from that stuff we don't want onto the stuff that we do want? To me, that begins with
nothing to do.
what those things are.
They have to listen to your podcast. They have nothing else to do. That's my answer. And I'm serious. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to change.
Well, I think there is one thing to do, and that is to change our choices. To choose to change. If I don't want this thing over here, I have to decide what I do want over here.
But you know, I've done both things. You know, like you did probably too. What I don't want and what I want. Focus on either, right? Mm-hmm. And my experiences, they're mixed. They're not particularly. I know all the spiritual and all the New Age people go by what you want, but I'm not so convinced about it, and I'm not good enough to talk about it. But I'm saying from my experience, it's a combination. It's not just what you want.
Meaning that we are dealing at all times with continuing to focus our attention on stuff that we don't want while we're trying to also focus our attention on what we do want.
Exactly.
And we find ourselves kind of in an in-between space there.
Yeah, you teeter-tottering.
And that's part of growth, isn't it? That's part of
to figure out. But what I found, very recently, that to lean, energy is energy. So what we want is energy. What we don't want is energy. So to lean in that emotion. So let's say you have a fear of that. And I don't know if that's clear enough, leaning in emotion. It's meaning you feel the feeling, but you don't think the thoughts. So you don't start, okay, I have fear. Somebody is coming in this room right now, and I have to hurry up. It's not, I'm making this up, yeah? Sure. And I'm afraid. So instead of giving up our talk or being absent-minded, I feel, if that fear would come up now, I feel that fear while I'm talking to you, but I don't think. I focus my thought on you. Because I believe, this is also my theory, that if you expel the energy, then when you expel the energy, you don't have to make it in the physical. It doesn't manifest as strong or doesn't manifest at all. As I have proven that to myself all the time. So when I think, for example, something is coming up and I'm afraid of that, or it gives an uncomfortable feeling, or talking to a person or whatever, I lean against that feeling. To disperse the energy, then I have not, first of all, it goes away because you're actually dealing with the energy that comes through you. And in addition, it doesn't mean it is your energy. This energy that comes, you might be jealous because you're 5 generations ago, it's like PTSD, 5 generations, people were jealous in your family, and it's almost like you carry it. Yeah. Sure. And so it's so or fear, I mean, look at the fear we have collected as humans. And I think one thing is right now we all feeling the fear. I hope we don't make new patterns, but when you feel it, you disperse the energy, good or bad, even if you feel good. Because look what's happened. If you feel 3 days like 100%, everything is great, you blow away the world, lean into that, because there's a fear underneath that. When is the rug going to be pulled under me? Right? So
if I could summarize what you're saying here, what you're driving at is anytime that we're experiencing any kind of emotion, whether it's one that we like, don't like, in between, whatever it is, feel it, experience it, and let it play itself out in our consciousness, in our awareness, in our selves, so to speak. Because in the process of doing that, to use your words, we expel it. I think the way other people might say it is it dispels itself, or it dissipates. Yeah. But basically, it's the same concept, right? The idea that when we embrace it, it ceases to have any power over us. I think that's really what you're driving at. Do you want you're talking about experiencing and embracing feelings so that the feeling no longer controls us, but rather we get to maintain control of our own lives, our own existences.
And then we come to you that you react. You don't have to react to it because you're not having that that burst of whatever energy you have. And if you let it dissipate, then you can act better because you go into your reptilian brain when you have the burst. And your reptilian brain is the worst choice maker. I mean, that's scientifically proven. When you're in fight flight, you make the worst choices. You're not making the best choices. You make the worst choices. You just make sure that you survive, but under the worst circumstances. And we are not in a world where you have to survive anymore. That's long gone. The saber-toothed tiger is not outside in the mammoth. So when you... I think that's the I think really they should listen to this podcast. There's nothing to do, because the moment you think you're making the right choices, you say you always make the choice. When you understand that when you take a knife and put it, cut your hand, it hurts. Are you gonna do it? You're doing the right choice. You're gonna be careful. And you only need to cut yourself once with a knife and you do the right thing. So the understanding, consciousness comes always before physical manifestation.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that I learned, and all that I learned to art. I learned that to art because, and I think the whole system and everything is the essence.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because this is really where I think we've been trying to get to the whole conversation is the idea of art and the role of art in life that people choose to give it. And you've given a very definite conscious choice, to use our favorite phrase of the day. But let's talk about what art has meant to you. When you talk about art, what are you saying? What do you can you kind of give us a sort of a range of here's what art is, and then what is it that this focus on art is accomplishing for you?
Okay, so art and creativity is like healthy discourse, a superpower that we are born with. It's not man-made. It's not a system, right? I didn't know that for almost 55 years. I didn't know that. 55 years, yeah. I did not know that. I thought art is the business. It's what people do. It's like from the finger painting to the thing, that's what it is. And then I was contemplating a long time and writing 2 books to figure out what I'm telling you now. What does art, the energy of art and creativity, want from a human? And the answer is,
go ahead. I'm curious. Tell me.
it's to be brought into the physical. Whatever your imagination is, to be brought into physical and to expose it to your wife, to your child. It doesn't say how many people need to be how many accolades you should get, how many awards you get, because I did all the things. I was at the front covers. I was at the international airport with my art. I was everywhere. I did the whole, and 99% of artists do that. They do the whole gamut because they've never known that all what art wants is that you have your imagination, you manifest it in the physical, right? And you expose it, you show it to somebody. That's it. And in that process is the value, because that's where you get the most value of everything. The money is the icing on the cake, the fame icing on the cake. So, and people are not aware of this because art was never free, really, because, one guy, drew something in a pub in the pagan times, right? And they took that little piece of paper or then skin, whatever, or wood, and brought it to the high up until the king, and the king said, "Hey, come to me and entertain me," and then gave him a room, and this was the thing of patronage. This was the basic of patronage. And so artists were always dependent on somebody, on other people's. Now I'm asking you, could you give your partner a wedding ring, you couldn't even decide on a wedding ring with a partner that you were 10 years together. You can't. It's not a single person that can decide what another person wants. And wedding ring is a very personal thing, right? But you are with that person, and you can give her a wedding ring, or him. But you have no clue. When you go shopping with your spouse or somebody that you're very close, mother or whatever, you say, oh, you like green, right? And they say, no, I like green, but that orange I like. If you buy me a shawl, get me the orange shawl, you know? So we have no idea what other people think. And we have built a business. The art business is built on the idea that you create stuff that should be creative, should be, you know, you have an imagination, it should be thing, and everybody should like it. Is that possible?
I'm still stuck on a point here, though, and I hope you can clarify this point, because we've been discussing basically the business of art and how people exchange art and so forth. But what I was really looking for was what art is to you, what it means, what the word art means to you.
I would say the word art means art business, because, but it's, I can tell you totally. When you create something, it's a reflection of you. And it's a reflection of when you create, you have an imagination.
So it's an expression of yourself.
It's expression, it's a reflect. And that's why we all screwed up with the systems and everything. We are more, because, you know, at the beginning it was very simple. It got more intricate and more nicer and more aesthetics. All of a sudden see aesthetic thing. And now it's shining and bright and everything. And we think, oh my God, I did that, I can't believe it. And then you go into ego and everything. So it is, art is basically, art is actually a reflection. There's a creativity, any creativity, because it doesn't matter what, is a superpower. That wasn't created by man. That isn't a man-made system. That is like humans. And that's why art, when you do art and look at art, your blood pressure goes down. I mean, it's scientifically proven to the gazoo, but nobody says why. Because it wasn't created by us. And I'm not a God-fearing person or religious or anything. I'm just saying art is the reason why all this is. It's creativity, and there's all the humans are working with that creativity power, with that superpower, but against each other.
So this is an interesting question that we're indirectly coming at. Let me see if I can come at it more directly. And that is the question of our connectedness to what is often called inner being, or source, or God, or energy, source energy. There's lots of different ways of describing it. And it sounds to me like what you're describing is how creative forces that create a certain form of art originate in that from that internal connection to whatever we're calling that. And you used an interesting phrase. We didn't create that. That's very interesting to me, because I've kind of gone back and forth in my mind about that. And ultimately, the way that I've resolved it for myself is anything that comes through me, I did create, because I brought it through me. I am that creator.
No, there's a creative
didn't mean that I didn't draw anything from the greater source connection or the greater God connection. But the fact that it comes through me, it forms it, it shapes it, it gives it a Walt flavor, it gives it a Walt twist. And in the course of gaining that Walt flavor or that Walt twist, that makes me creator of it. Now, does that mean I am the sole creator of it? No, I don't mean that. I mean, I play a significant role in the creation process. So on the one hand, I can't really accept the idea that I didn't create it at all. On the other hand, I can't really accept the idea that I totally created with nothing else being part of the process. So I kind of take sort of a little bit from both, and I say, yeah, I had this internal knowing that came through. I applied my own piece to it, and that became the whole. So now, to me, it's no longer a question of, well, I created.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
No,
let me
rephrase
it. You have 100% right. You said what it is. It's when you and I talk, we create a mastermind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand that, what mastermind.
Right.
So that mastermind is
Yes.
smarter than you and I together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's, and the mastermind, you feel also that we are much more aligned now than at the beginning, because it has to
Yes.
get, so what art is the source energy of creativity, that everything is possible, with is a mastermind between the source where everything is possible,
Mm-hmm.
and you. It's the creative force that is godly, let's say, or beyond human,
Mm-hmm.
and then you access this force and meld it, exactly like you said. You meld it. So it's a product of our mastermind between source and thing, and that's why it's so powerful. I think
Mm-hmm.
because we have only looked at creativity, and that's why I wanna say we have to look. This is my whole mission. We have to look at creativity and art outside of any system, and that's why I'm so system. Because with the art, I'm very biased, because I'm always saying what it did to the creative force, our human potential. It's the base of our human potential, and that is the problem. So everybody uses that force to fight each other, to go against each other, versus we could all go in one and say, what do we need as a human? Let's expand our human potential, like technology, not use technology to implant chips to be a better human. That means basically, oh, we are horrible. We need, I mean, there's shaming in that alone, that we have to do that we have to get a shot. And I'm not against shots at all, but that people that are in the Neanderthal stage of DNA, say, oh, we know it's what's wrong with humans. We know it better than how it's done. And then, I mean, you heard this whole thing is exploding right now, because a system isn't better than any human. Human are the absolute thing. And also, aliens are not outside. They're already here, if there was aliens, All this stuff is, we always look outside. It's not outside. We're the optimal thing that can be also in the universe. We are the optimal. We are not the prime. We are not above everybody. But we have the possibility in us that is endless, limitless. We are limitless beings.
This has
And
been
that's where I
very.
want to go.
This has
That's
been
where
very. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
and that's where I think we should go. I mean, I don't say what's wrong or anything. I said, look, just listen to this podcast. I'm saying it over and over, just to get you to, because we did enough seeds. We planted enough seeds that people keep sinking further. And that's how much I believe in humans. I don't think we have to do anything, nothing, just understanding. If the time that people spend here is probably the best time they could spend. And they have nothing to do. We have no homework, nothing. Just be a human. Just be humane and see your humanity. That's what I always tell everybody. Do you know what it is to be human, humane, and what is your humanity and your humanness? And look at that instead of how much money you have in a bank account, how much success you have, how many likes you have. Those are chemical impulses that stimulate. Oh, I get 50,000 likes. I mean, there's artists that have millions of likes and they don't sell anything, for example.
This is true.
So the likes doesn't sell. It is not, but it is more important. And 95%, I say 95, but most people say it's 97% of artists are on the poverty level. These are people that actually interact with that energy, and they are the people that actually work with that energy, and they are the poorest people. And you think that systems are not the problem? It's not the problem. It's the communication buffer. It's not the problem. It's let's keep with humans and make humans number one, and use systems to get us better. I mean, if you cut off your foot and you get a prosthesis, awesome. But what if, oh, this is a good one for you. What if I say I can give you a prosthesis forearm? If you get a prosthesis and it can do everything, it makes you superpowers, it makes everything. Would you do it? Because even with all the technology and all the things, you still say, no, I like my arm. Unless you have a deformed arm or something. But you say,
yeah, I've lost my arm, I might want to replace it. But if the arm is still good, yeah, there's no point.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. See, with all this shine and glamour that we created, it's still not an arm. So, and the artists just they're not conscious of that. They think art is what the art business is. Yeah.
This has been a very interesting conversation because the topics that we addressed here today are topics that we often address, but we've been doing it from an entirely different perspective. And that's what makes it interesting to me. Anytime that I can be in a conversation with somebody who thinks about something, the same topic, the same idea, the same concepts, from an entirely different viewpoint, I benefit from that. So I need to thank you for sharing that viewpoint. This has been very, very interesting. Before we pass the end of the show here, I need to ask you one more thing. People who want to find out more about you, about what it is, the way that you think about these things, the books that you've written, the teachings that you do, how do they reach out? How do they find you?
MichaellM.com. And I have a podcast that's called Smart of Art, The Smart of Art. It's a 30-second, see, I'm very efficient, 30 seconds twice a week for your thoughts. Mm-hmm. It's all about creativity. It's about art outside of systems, creativity outside of systems, connected to humans. It's a superpower. So whoever wants to, and I have nothing to sell. So, I mean, you can buy my books or whatever, follow me, have discourses with me. I'm fine with that. But
very good.
I thank you very much, Walt.
Thank you, Michaell Art. Appreciate you having you on the show. I'll be definitely putting the link into the description for people who are interested in following up on that. So thank you much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere, and we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.